Back to school or back to sickness? Seems like a lot of times those two go hand in hand. And with us this afternoon, we have Dr. Daniel Blatt with Norton Healthcare. Thank you so much for being with us here today. So first we want to talk about measles. A lot of parents are thinking about this right now. There have been some diagnoses. So what do parents really need to know as they head into the school year and they're worried about maybe their child getting measles?
You know, that's a really big concern for a lot of people. You know, I've had a lot of parents ask me about this, and I've had a lot of colleagues ask me about this. Measles is on the front of everyone's mind because, for good reason, it's a scary diagnosis. It can be dangerous for kids unless you're vaccinated. And so, you know, measles is something that can put kids in the hospital, it can cause negative outcomes, but if you're vaccinated, you're really well protected. It's one of the most effective vaccines we've ever had. It's safe, it works well, and so if parents are concerned, they need to talk to their pediatrician, make sure that their child's up to date on their vaccines, and then the concern goes away.
Yeah, do they really need to have that fear when, at least at this point in Louisville, we only know of one confirmed diagnosis? Are we getting worked up for a little bit of no reason, or is that concern for good?
Yeah, you know, I never want to fearmonger and cause unnecessary stress on people. However, measles is one of those things that it's hard to overreact about, because it's one of the most infectious of diseases we know. For every person that gets measles, they could transmit it to about 18 other people who are not protected. And so if you are not protected against measles in that you haven't had previous infection or you haven't been vaccinated, then it is something to worry about. However, if you have been vaccinated, like most kids have in our area, then they should be just fine. We need about 95% of people to be vaccinated to really contain it, and right now that number is a little bit low.
Okay, and there are some illnesses that correlate with going back to school. Can we talk about some of the most common that maybe you see in your practice?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, most people have gotten a cold at some point in their life. Kids get colds all the time, right? And back to school is the time that they get those colds. Right. Now, we have names for some of them, and we have, and those names are really well known to some people, things like RSV or the flu, right? But there's a lot of different cold viruses running around. Kids also get strep and gastrointestinal illnesses around back to school time. And so as kids congregate in their classroom, you know, they're touching each other, they're sneezing, they're coughing, they're putting their hands in their mouth. That's when kids get sick, and that's why they get sick when they go back to school. But it's okay for your kid to get sick as long as, you know, you bring them to the doctor if they get too sick.
So I think maybe parents might be wondering, okay, my kid is showing signs of some type of illness. At what point can they treat at home versus I think we need to go to the doctor? Yeah,
that's a great question too. You know, I'm a pediatrician and I'm a pediatric infectious disease doctor. I'm also a new father. And
so you're one to know best.
I'm one to know best, but honestly, even sometimes I question my judgment when it comes to my own child. So when I'm worried about my own child, I look to my pediatrician because they're gonna have an objective view of what's going on, right? And so I've done all the research, I've built my career on infections, but if I'm worried about my child, I still go to their own provider. And that's what parents should really do. If they're worried, they need to go to their pediatrician. Now, you don't have to worry about every cold, you don't have to worry about every fever, but if your child isn't acting right, they're not eating well, they're not drinking well, they have a fever that won't go away, or you're just scared as a parent, the pediatrician is the best resource because they care for your kid about as much as the parent can.
Yeah, very great advice. Thank you so much, Dr. Blatt, for being with us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Fallon. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.